Electric cars are no longer the future. They're here to stay, thanks largely to Tesla. For this reason, I believe that Tesla changed the car industry forever as a whole. Just like Henry Ford is responsible for mass-producing automobiles, Tesla influenced the way car manufacturers look at electric vehicles forever. My name is Juan Carlos, and today I want to begin with the reason why we bought our Tesla Model Y. Because it's a cool car, plain and simple. Not because we want to save the planet, not because we're saving money compared to a gas car, not because it's made in America, therefore it protects American jobs, and definitely not because we think that Elon Musk has a cool personality. There's something about our Model Y. I mean, there's hundreds, thousands of them here in San Diego, but yet still random people come and ask us questions. Does it drive itself? Is it fast? Is it reliable? Do you charge it at home? Do you have a home charger? How much do you save compared to gas? What happens if you get stranded in the middle of the road? And I even get negative comments such as, you're not really saving the planet because producing the battery for your Tesla pollutes the environment. And things like the electricity to charge your car comes from dirty sources. And guess what? It is true, but only up to a point. And I do not want to complicate things in this video, but I'll tell you this. Producing the battery for an electric vehicle does affect the environment. That is true. The batteries are made of elements like lithium, nickel, cobalt, and graphite, and they must be extracted from the earth through highly polluting processes. And according to YouMatter.world, you can offset this effect by driving your electric vehicle for 6 to 16 months on average, provided that you're using clean energy. In a scenario where you really care about the planet, you must charge your electric car at home, and you need to have a solar panel system installed at your house, which I don't. I don't have a home charger, and I cannot have solar panels installed. For electric cars to be more environmentally friendly, the country must promote renewable energies like they have in other countries like Norway. But then again, all of the energy needed to move an internal combustion engine car is bad for the environment. And let's not even get into the details, going back to electric cars, about what happens to the battery when the car comes to the end of its cycle. It also pollutes the environment. So are electric cars really eco-friendly and zero emissions? I like how YouMatter puts it, and I'll quote, "No, electric cars are not zero-emission vehicles. We have seen that although they do not emit CO2 while being driven, they might do it in 3 other stages, like during manufacturing, energy production, and at the end of their life cycle," unquote. If anything, I do believe that hydrogen cars have the potential to be cleaner than electric battery cars because they use smaller batteries. They produce their own electricity, by the way. But the process to obtain the liquid hydrogen is also pollutant in its current form, and not to mention the lacking infrastructure of charging stations, which makes hydrogen cars pretty inconvenient for most people. Currently, hydrogen vehicles are only sold in California and Hawaii. The reason why I believe that Tesla changed the car world forever is because we are starting to see manufacturers get really serious about producing desirable electric cars that people actually want to drive. This is not the first time fuel-efficient vehicles or low-emission vehicles have gotten popular. Every time there's a fuel crisis and prices of gas skyrocket like they have recently, people dump their gas guzzlers and buy cars that are cheaper to drive. The fuel crisis of the 1970s taught Americans that we can actually drive compact cars. So into the 80s, we saw brands like Toyota boom in sales in the United States. They sold small, reliable cars that were efficient. Ironically, Toyota now sells us cars that are gigantic gas guzzlers as well. The point is, American car manufacturers started making smaller, more fuel-efficient cars, not because they really care about the planet, but because there was a demand for these vehicles. Later, we saw hybrid vehicles gain popularity in the United States. The Honda Insight of the early 2000s was the first mass-produced vehicle that was hybrid that was sold in the US, followed by the Toyota Prius a few months later. The Honda Insight never really took off in sales in the United States, but the Toyota Prius did. But again, as gas prices drop, people will go back to their love affair with gas guzzlers. Go figure. In the last decade particularly, car manufacturers have implemented hybrid technology to many of their products, which at first it only had the purpose of efficiency and normally was exclusive to smaller vehicles. But now hybrid technologies are being applied to cars in search not only of efficiency but also performance. The EPA also mandates that car manufacturers maintain a combined fuel economy of 35.5 miles per gallon for vehicles sold in the United States and this can only be achieved with the help of, in part, hybrid technologies. Going back to Tesla, Tesla sold the first electric vehicle in the United States as we know it back in 2008. That was called the Roadster, which sold in very small numbers. And I'm going to read this straight out of Wikipedia. Quote, senior leaders at several large automakers, including Nissan and General Motors, have stated that the Roadster was a catalyst which demonstrated that there's pent-up consumer demand for more efficient vehicles. In an August 2009 edition of The New Yorker, GM Vice Chairman Bob Lutz was quoted as saying, all the geniuses here at General Motors kept saying that lithium-ion technology is 10 years away, and Toyota agreed with us. And boom, along comes Tesla. So I said, how come some tiny little California startup run by guys who know nothing about car business can do this and we can't? Unquote. I think that Tesla demonstrated that people are willing to drive electric cars as long as they are desirable, aspirational, and most of all, relatively practical to drive. The Roadster was based on a great chassis, the Lotus Elise, so the car had an appeal and it was also electrified. It drew all eyes to Tesla, but still, people weren't willing to dump their iced cars for an electric Roadster. Back in those days, two-door coupes and convertibles still had a lot of appeal and sold in way bigger numbers than today, but they were still sort of a niche vehicle. So it wasn't until 2012 that Tesla introduced the Model S to the market, and that's when the company really took off in sales. The Model S is a larger, more practical sedan, and as years have gone by, Tesla has increased the range of their vehicles and has expanded its portfolio, first with the introduction of the Model X, which was the first ever SUV. But what really made Tesla gain momentum was the introduction of the Model 3 in 2017. That was the game changer. This was the first relatively affordable vehicle from Tesla, which at the time had established itself as a premium brand. So the aspirational brand Tesla had produced a smaller sedan which was sold for about half of the price of the Model S. But the portfolio still was missing a more affordable SUV because by then the market had switched its love to SUVs, and that's when the Model Y came in. That's when it appeared, which along with the Model 3 have multiplied Tesla's sales tremendously. In the last 3 years, electric vehicles from all brands have taken off in sales, some cooler than others, but for the first time ever, the big car companies are betting on electric vehicles. It's odd that these same car companies have always had the infrastructure, the buying power, the technology to make a desirable electric vehicle, but they never did. Why? I don't know, but I think it's just because their inability to properly read the market. So it took a new company with a new vision to give the people a car that they didn't know they wanted. To this day, Tesla continues to be a very small contender in the auto industry, but it is the biggest name in electrified vehicles. For comparison, in the US, GM sold about 10 times as many vehicles than Tesla in 2020, but globally, sales of electric vehicles rose 43% in 2020, with Tesla selling the most vehicles at 500,000 units worldwide. The effects of the electrification of vehicles can be seen everywhere. Reuters reported that US car makers have started to cut their manufacturing in India and Brazil because of a variety of reasons, among them to fully invest themselves in electric vehicles. Worldwide, Tesla holds 22.7% of the market share. And here's an interesting statistic. On a recent list published by Car and Driver, Tesla holds all of their models 4 places in the top 10 electric vehicles sold in the United States. Volkswagen as a group holds 3 slots. This is interesting because I believe that the auto giant Volkswagen has the ability to be the top seller of electric vehicles worldwide, and I think this will happen soon as their offerings range from pretty affordable with the Volkswagen ID4 to the nicer and pricier Audi e-tron to the more expensive, exclusive, and luxurious Porsche Taycan, which already outsold the competitor, which is the Tesla Model S. This is the trend that makes me believe that electric cars are here to stay, and shortly we'll cease to call them electric cars and we'll simply call them just cars. As of today, Tesla continues to be the top choice when it comes to electric cars because of their charging network. But for people that live in bigger cities like me, there's plenty of chargers everywhere for Tesla and other manufacturers. And it's not until you take any electric vehicle out on the road where charging may become an issue. And at that, I think that Tesla alleviates the headache with its vast charging network. Often when I publish my videos, I get hate from both sides. The Tesla fans and the haters. Tesla lovers feel that I'm just too harsh calling out the shortcomings for Model Y. And I also get hate from people that just simply hate Tesla for whatever reason. Whether we like it or not, it is a fact that Tesla did make electric cars desirable and mainstream. Other cars are late to the game. Manufacturers are still trying to play catch up, some more than others. BMW, remember when BMW was a desirable brand? Well, Tesla outsold BMW in the United States for 2020. BMW had a mild attempt at electric vehicles with the i3 and the i8, but neither of those cars ever took off in sales. Ford has finally produced a real contender to the Model Y with the Mustang Mach-E, built from the ground up on a dedicated electric car platform. I cannot wait to see Mercedes-Benz, to see what they do when they get serious about their EVs. And of course, my beloved Lexus getting on with the program. Personally, I like the new contenders. I think electric cars are cool, and my Tesla will probably not be my last one. I want to see what's out there when it's time to replace for Model Y. Will I ever buy another internal combustion engine car? I really don't know, but I know that when I look at them in a completely different way than I used to. When I hear a loud exhaust note, it reminds me of a past that still roams our roads and will continue to do so for hopefully not too many years, as electric cars have proved to be the better technology. That is all for today. I don't feel like I brought you enough value in this video. This is more like my opinion about the reality of electric vehicles. But please let me know in the comments, do you have an electric vehicle? Is it a Tesla? Is it any other brand? Are you happy with it? Are you planning to switch brands when the time comes? Are you planning to come back to internal combustion engine cars? Are you done with them? And why? Thank you for being here. My name is Juan Carlos. I'll see you next time.